I think it is possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. You shouldn't do things differently just because they're different. They need to be better. I would like to die on Mars, just not on impact. I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right. I don't create companies for the sake of creating companies, but to get things done. It's not that uncommon for an idea to be ahead of its time. It's just that when an idea is ahead of its time, people think it's crazy. The future belongs to those who can imagine it, design it, and execute it. It isn't something you await, but rather create. If you want to be successful, you have to be willing to take risks. The goal of life is to have an amazing adventure. The best way to predict the future is to create it. If you want to make progress, you need to have the courage to take action. I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. I'm just trying to think about the future and not be sad. I don't believe in process. In fact, when I interview potential employees and they tell me something is a process, I instantly lose interest. If you're a small company, you have to be nimble and adaptable. I don't think it's a good idea to plan to sell a company. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. I believe that a properly engineered system can achieve an order of magnitude more than an unstructured system of people. It's very important to like the people you work with, otherwise life and your job is gonna be quite miserable. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. I think it's important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. Really pay attention to negative feedback and solicit it, particularly from friends. Hardly anyone does that, and it's incredibly helpful. You have to be pretty driven to make it happen. Otherwise, you will just make yourself miserable. I tend to approach things from a physics framework, and physics teaches you to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket.